Welcome to Super Easy Recipes. Today I'll be making braised tofu with vegetables. Now braising is a very common method of cooking in Chinese households and it's an excellent way to cook tofu because tofu can be a bit, bland. Braising is a good way to give it flavour. Braised tofu with vegetables is one of those dishes which is popular in Chinese restaurants and at home because it is meatless and it makes for a good side dish, or it can be an alternative to a meat dish. You can make it completely vegetarian by substituting oyster sauce for mushroom vegetarian stir-fry sauce, which is sometimes called vegetarian oyster sauce. You can get this from your local Asian supermarket or online. I haven't seen it at the major supermarkets yet, so they're missing a trick. For the ingredients, you'll need firm tofu, some shiitake mushrooms, baby corn and a carrot, a Chinese leaf, some spring onions, sugar, salt and white pepper. For the sauces, I'm going to use mushroom oyster sauce instead of regular oyster sauce. You'll also need light soy sauce, Shaoxing Rice Wine and sesame oil. Begin your preparation by soaking the shiitake mushrooms in hot water for about 20 to 30 minutes or until they're soft. The second thing you want to do is to press the tofu to remove any excess water. I'm using 2 chopping boards, a few sheets of kitchen towel and a saucepan, but you could use 2 plates instead. If you don't press the tofu, it may lose its shape during cooking. The next thing to prepare are your vegetables. Now you can use all kinds of vegetables for this dish, but you don't want them to become too soft, so use vegetables which can keep their texture after 15 to 20 minutes of braising. Chinese leaf, which is available from all the major supermarkets, is a classic vegetable to use with this dish. Give the Chinese leaf a quick wash and roughly cut it into large pieces. Carefully line your casserole or saucepan with the Chinese leaf. Then peel and roughly cut your carrot. As I say, don't cut it too finely because you want to retain its texture and shape after 15 to 20 minutes of braising. Roughly cut the baby corn as well, and if they're small, leave them whole. When the mushrooms are soft, squeeze the water out, but keep the liquid as we'll be using that later. Cut and discard the stem. Now these shiitake mushrooms keep their shape and texture very well, so you can cut them finely. Roughly cut the white part of the spring onion, and finely cut the green part as you'll be using it for garnishing. My tofu has been pressed for about 20 to 30 minutes and it's ready for cooking. Cut it into bite-sized cubes or rectangles. To make the sauce, I'm going to add 2 or 3 tablespoons of the vegetarian mushroom stir-fry sauce to a mixing bowl. About 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, a tablespoon or so of Shaoxing Rice Wine, a heaped teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt and white pepper, and mix everything together. Now experienced Chinese home cooks will probably add all these ingredients directly to the pan without measuring. When you're ready to cook, add a generous amount of vegetable oil to a non-stick frying pan. Ensure that the oil is hot before adding the tofu. If the oil is not sufficiently hot, the tofu will absorb too much oil and you don't want that. Fry the tofu for 1 or 2 minutes on each side. You want them to take on a little colour. Now this is a super easy recipe, but the hardest part I think is ensuring the tofu doesn't fall apart when you're frying it. Much depends on the type of tofu you're using. Don't overcrowd the pan, and if necessary, fry the tofu in batches. Once you've fried all your tofu, reserve 1 tablespoon of the cooking oil and discard the rest. Carefully layer the tofu on top of the Chinese leaf in the saucepan or casserole. Reheat the frying pan and add a little of the reserved oil. Add the carrots, baby corn, and mushrooms, and stir fry the vegetables on a high heat for a minute or so. Then add the sauce you made earlier, together with about 100 milliliters or so of the reserved mushroom water. Mix everything well and bring the liquid to a rapid boil. Then pour the mixture over the tofu and Chinese leaf in the saucepan or casserole. Sprinkle the roughly cut spring onions on top and simmer on a low heat with the lid on for about 15 to 20 minutes. Do give everything a stir midway through to ensure that everything is well coated with the sauce. In the meantime, make a cornstarch slurry by mixing a teaspoon of cornstarch with about a tablespoon of cold water. A few minutes before you finish braising the tofu and vegetables, add the cornstarch slurry to the pan to thicken the sauce. Add a little at a time so as not to over thicken the sauce. Give everything a good mix and replace the lid for a minute or so to cook out the cornstarch. Make sure that everything is well coated with the sauce before plating your braised tofu with vegetables. Sprinkle over the reserved spring onion and drizzle a generous amount of sesame oil over the top. Serve with plenty of boiled white rice. And if you enjoyed this vegetarian tofu recipe, then check out my vegetarian wonton recipe and subscribe for future super easy recipes.